All right, welcome to the Dirty Couch podcast. The ugly couch, the messy couch, whatever. Thanks, Olive. With me is my daughter, Hailey-Rose Kirsten. So say hi.
Hi.
And she's here to talk a little bit about mental health. I'm writing a book on hope, and one of the things I'm touching on is mental health. And a lot of people have been struggling, especially since 2020, and particularly a lot of teenage girls. And she can identify with this because when she was a teenager, she also struggled. So a little bit about how, what she went through and how she got through it. So let's start with what life was like before things got difficult.
Yeah, so I think before I was quite young, so everything was normal. Let's say 10, 11. So, I was in primary school, had extramurals, sports, friends. Nothing was different or out of the ordinary. Yeah, I was pretty happy.
And then what changed? Was it sudden, gradual?
Looking back, remember it as quite sudden. Yeah, I would say it was quite a sudden change when I was about 11, 12, and then it gradually got worse for a long time. For the next 4 years, yeah.
Okay, and what do you think contributed or causes or?
I think a lot of things. Yeah, I think
So what were the struggles you were dealing with in that season when it was difficult?
Yeah, I think it was mainly pressure. It felt like a lot of pressure, especially, at that time I was in grade 6, 7, and all they talk about is high school and how difficult it is and how they're not going to be so easy on us and everything is just hard when you go to high school and there's so much you have to handle. I think it was a lot of fear that they would, put into our brains, and I think that's what created the stress, was pressure. And it's like I just couldn't enjoy every day with the pressure of worrying about what's to come.
And was there a moment when it felt its worst, particular moment that stands out, or during the journey?
I would say 2020. I think 2020 was difficult for everyone. Looking back, it was building up until then, but 2020 was difficult. I think it was a change for everyone, being in your same environment. It was, in a way, it was a relief not being at school, because I think that was the hardest thing for me, is school, and I didn't, it just wasn't for me. But yeah, I think that it was still being isolated and just everything changing and doing school online, and then I was falling behind. It was, quite hard. And social life at that age, it's the most important thing in the world when you're 15, 16. So I think that was the most difficult time.
What were you believing about yourself at the time that you realized maybe wasn't true?
Yeah, I think when you're in such a negative headspace, everything is negative. There's no good. You don't see any good. So I think it's like socially you're not good enough, and academically you're not good enough. And I have an older sister, so it was a lot of comparing myself to her. She's got more friends, she's better at sports, she's better academics. So I think it's like that is your world. There's nothing else at that point. You're not even thinking about after school. School is your world. And comparison is your world. Jealousy is your world. For a lot of people, it's hard to have a positive outlook in that environment, at least for me, because it wasn't an easy environment. Yeah, so I think it was a lot of just comparison and especially being the younger sibling.
Okay, so from my perspective as a mom, I think you probably just try to cope with everything, because I didn't know. I was working full time, but we chatted and things, and I didn't know how stressed you were. And the first time that I realized, I was actually quite shocked, because your head started falling out, and you came to me like, Mom, and I thought, well, is it the shampoo? Are you allergic? Change shampoos. It was still happening. We tried a few things, and then we went to the doctor, and as he started asking questions, and I realized that this is actually from stress. And I realized how incredibly stressed you had to have been for that to be happening in the physical. And obviously as a mom, it's you know, you're so taken aback, you just want to help and save and rescue. But it was a journey. And I remember at that stage, he said you were anxious, but you weren't depressed. And then, you know, and that was a bit back, but it obviously led, because you can't live in a space of anxiety for so long. Yeah, do you want to share a little bit around the journey of from moving in that place to getting better and the things that helped you and the steps? Obviously, from our perspective, we did what we could to help. For instance, there were a couple of therapists. Maybe you want to chat about them. Just how you feel. Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember. So my hair started falling out, and that was when I was really stressed, and it was coming out quite a lot. Yeah, and that was obviously a physical sign of stress. And then from then, a lot of the time, stress does lead to, you know, anxiety and then depression. So that was the root. It was, you know, first anxiety and then depression and all these other things, and, you know, binge eating from stress. So it was just, you know, gaining weight and then my self-confidence. So it was this just train of worse and worse and worse and worse. Yeah, and then we obviously took steps with medication and therapists, which it was really helpful. But you got to find a therapist you gel with. I would always say give it a chance. You know, try a therapist for a few sessions. If it doesn't work, there's so many therapists around, you know, just keep trying. But I think that was really helpful. It gave me the tools to be able to apply, yeah, when dealing with the stress and anxiety. I think it also does take a bit of
I'm smiling. Sorry, because of the dog, and I saw you smiling. Podcast with the messy couch and the dog. Sorry, let's just go back a bit. You were just saying about different therapists you got to try, because I remember you had one that you didn't gel with so well, so then you tried another one.
Yeah, so the first one, she didn't gel, and that was obviously, I did lose a bit of hope, because I thought that's what a therapist is, and yeah, I just thought, okay, therapy doesn't work for me. Luckily, we tried another therapist, and that helped a lot. Yes, I definitely think you can always try another therapist. And I mean, that was really helpful. It really did give me the tools to be able to apply the steps. I think that was really helpful. So I'm very grateful for that.
Okay, so through the therapy, what beliefs did you maybe have that you changed, or
I think the main belief, definitely, I had a victim mentality. That is usually, I find, that's usually something that, you know, someone, when you're down in the dumps, anxiety, depression, that's all you're thinking. Woe is me, why is this happening to me? The world is ending, everything's unfair, I'm not favored. So I think the biggest belief was moving away from a victim mentality. Yeah, that you gotta just realize sometimes the world is a bit unfair. And if you're gonna just focus on that and, you know, that's all you're thinking about, your life's gonna be a lot worse. I mean, I think that was one of the biggest things, was changing your mentality to a more positive mentality, you know, not comparing, you know, trying not to focus on what other people have, and not focusing on jealousy, because it's true when they say that you rot yourself. It really does. It really does rot your soul.
And so what brought you hope? Obviously the therapy was helpful. Were there other things that started rebuilding hope in your life?
Yeah, as I was saying, I mean, for me, my biggest struggle was school. It's not necessarily for everyone, but I just didn't agree with the school system. I hated how many hours, and for me, it felt like such a waste of time. It was just, you're going there the whole day, and you know, you're not really learning for as much time as you should be. So I think that was also feeling like I was hitting my head against the wall. Like, why am I here? There has to be a better way. So obviously I told my mom that, and she said, then okay, it's not worth it, then leave and we'll find something else. So I think that was the first sign of hope. That's when it started to get better. So I left at 16, and then I moved to online school, and I got that done in 1 year. So it was a relief to kind of see a finish line, 2 years becoming one, my own schedule, being at home. I think that was the biggest relief. I mean, I could be at home, I could work out, I could, walk outside, I just felt like I had so much more time in the day. And yeah, that was probably the biggest first sign of hope.
And as you journeyed along, what else brought you hope? As you've transitioned from where you were to a person that's hopeful and positive, what were the other things that were key?
I think for me, the most important thing was my faith. Yeah, just coming back there was really great for me. That gave me hope. That helped me, with all the values of just, I was, more positive. I wasn't comparing. And then I felt like everything in my life was going right. And I mean, that was only really in like 2024 where everything just started going uphill. Yeah, but then I was, working out more, going to church, reading my Bible, and I think that also gave me a lot of hope and purpose.
Yeah, and I mean, you've come such a long way. It's amazing. And as a mom, journeying through that, it really, and I'm sure if any moms are watching, it's really difficult watching a child go through and feeling helpless. I think you journey through emotionally, even if you aren't carrying the same weight that they are, you still carry a weight. And so it's been just amazing and miraculous. There was prayer for her and with her, and definitely God. But you've had such amazing, in this short time, you've had amazing experiences and wonderful things in your life. I mean, I think of when you put your vision board up and how many of those things happened the next year. I don't know, maybe you want to share for people to give them some hope, from a girl who felt trapped at school, comparing, negative and struggling, to where you are now. We're just full of hope. You've had so many experiences and you've learned so much. Interesting job that you had recently, and now you're on a new path of studies, travel things that you've done. Anything you want to highlight, just that from where you were to where you are now.
Yeah, I really think I just appreciated the small things, going on hikes, just experiencing. I mean, I live in Cape Town, it's so stunning. Just experiencing my town and restaurants and things like that. I think that's really when I started to feel a bit positive and a bit of hope. I really forced myself to have a lot of self-motivation, which helped. I think once you get to a point where the medication, the therapy, everything's helping, you gotta force yourself to have a bit of discipline. I mean, and then working out is such a powerful tool as well. It's really, really great for the brain. So I think once I had a bit of self-discipline, I just forced myself to work out, and that opened a whole lot of doors. I think then I was really enjoying everything, going on my hikes, and just, then I had a really great summer in 2024. I did a lot of things and, went to the beach outside. It's just, those are all my favorite things. So I think then I really just was able to enjoy all the little things.
And which is important. I remember on your vision board you wanted to go to the theme park, and all the theme parks had closed down, and the only one in South Africa is in Johannesburg, and that trip materialized without, just for me it was amazing that it wasn't like planned and it happened. And
I think a vision board was really great. I mean, I wasn't in the best space in the first half of 2024, but it's like, what you put on a board, your mind has a way of making that happen. You're seeing it every day, you're seeing the photo, your brain kind of has a way of creating that. And so I only really motivated myself about in June of 2024, and my whole year flipped around just like that. It was really amazing. I mean, I lost like 15 kilograms. I was just happy and positive, and I wasn't working at that point, and then I had a job on my vision board, and I found a job I was with for a year and a half, and so a lot of great things came from, I think, visualizing and seeing it. So I think there is a lot of power in a vision board. I really do recommend it.
And then any final tips? Oh, actually, let's do two things. One, for someone getting started, the first thing that you'd recommend if you go back to that dark place? Is it community? Is it, maybe they aren't a person of faith, but obviously that is massive for us. Is it therapy? Like, what would you suggest, like a first step or couple of steps? And then secondly, we'll answer that, and then first step.
Yeah, I think first step, it really also depends on what is accessible to you, because it's not everyone has the same amount of access. First thing I would recommend is church, if you have that access. Obviously that's a lot easier. Churches everywhere, so join a church. That's also joining a community, which I think is really important. Having people, socializing, making friends. I think that's important. So that would be a big recommendation. Therapy if you can afford it, but if you can't, doing something you love. My thing was exercise, was movement. I think that is also so important for everyone. It really does help your brain. You don't feel so foggy. It's really a useful tool. But if you're into arts, then paint, draw, whatever you love. I think that's the first step, is doing something you love, something that brings you joy, or that used to bring you joy. That would be really important, and that's something that everyone has access to. There's something that you can do that you love. So not everyone has access to the therapy, to the medication. Those are really helpful tools, but I think really what I would recommend then is just doing something you love, good community, that really will bring hope.
And then finally, some recommendations, podcasts or books or anything that you found helpful. Obviously the Bible, but other than that, like any...
There's my favorite podcast that really helped me. It's Sad to Savage by Shelby Sacco. So that is such an amazing podcast that she really teaches good habits. How she was never diagnosed with depression, but she was sad, noticeably sad. So she really shows her journey of how she went from sad to savage, and what motivated her with her family was, she wanted to do it for her sisters. She didn't want her sisters to experience that. So it really showed her determination, motivation. That is my favorite podcast ever. I really do recommend it. So Girls Gone Bible's really nice. And then books, it's quite nice. Shelby did teach, use a lot of her habits that she learned from books, the 5 a.m. Club, Atomic Habits. She pulled a lot of her information from there. So I would say those are good books to start if you don't like reading so much, audiobooks. So that would be my recommendation.
Awesome. It's been amazing. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me in my own house.